This is your weekly global sailing highlights show, The World on Water, August 15, 2025. We start with the ocean race in crisis. Last weekend, as the Ocean Race Europe started in Kiel, two of the competing Imoca yachts crashed into each other, reducing the fleet from 7 to 5. Last year in the Vendee Globe, 40 Imocas started, but only 7 started in the ocean race, which has now morphed into an Imoca-only fleet race. With huge foils protruding from the yachts, these boats are not the best for close inshore racing. As we saw in the Kiel crash, the foils acted like medieval sword fighters, wreaking much damage to the boats.
Patrick Arkea, Team Militia, opting to start on the left-hand side. They'll be clean, they'll be clear, but they won't have the best of the breeze. 15 seconds to go. Team Holcim PRB with a late deployment now. They're closest to the line, but they're certainly the slowest. Surely Biotherm is going to be able to accelerate straight over the top of them. But Rosalind Kuiper, first-time skipper, has nailed the time and distance on this start. The Ocean Race Europe 2025 gets underway, and Rosalind Kuiper, the youngest skipper in the fleet, starting strongly out in the lead. How long are we going to have to wait before we see the power come on and these boats getting up on the foils? This is the view inside. Rosalind Kuiper on the right-hand side, working the sheets, the controls, trying to get that foil to dig in, start to provide the power, and it's a good position where they are.
It's a brilliant position where PRB are. They're getting the wind first, but Patrick Arkea have their nose just forwards of the boats above them, which does give them a strong advantage here. They've got rights. The boats above them can't come down onto them. So Johan Richomme in a slightly controlling position still.
And look at how hard Johan Richomme is working that tiller. He's almost pumping the boat, working the boat up onto the foils, because he knows he's got Biotherm. Look at that right in the middle of the picture. Biotherm going straight over the top of Patrick Arkea. The breeze now stolen from Johan Richomme's sails. You can see, we said coming into that line how dangerous it was to start at the leeward end, that left-hand end. Paul Mayer absolutely stole the breeze from the boat to leeward. Now waving the onboard reporter out of the way. He's got his eyes glued to that telltale. He has come into this competition knowing that so many people have tipped him for the win, and right now in the very early stages it is going well for the Frenchman. Big breeze coming over. Alagrande Mappi, huge heel. Team Holcim PRB also, and Team Holcim PRB just broaching out. Too much heel, too much power for the rudder to control. Alagrande Mappi just holding on to the power. They're using the big fractional code 0, the big head sail, giving them full power. Thomas Rien at the back of the boat. Oh, and right there in the middle, Alagrande Mappi and Team Holcim PRB getting incredibly close. Now, Team Holcim PRB was to leeward, but I think Alagrande Mappi was behind, going over the top, and that was far too close. Nobody on board either boat will be happy about that. I'm just waiting to see exactly what happened there, and it is bad news for Alagrande Mappi. The fractional masthead set, the fractional code 0 has torn. It has ripped. Now, that could have been on the rigging of Team Holcim PRB. That is a disastrous way to start this race. You are now going to have to get that sail furled out of the way. It actually looks like it was the masthead code 0, and that is why they lost control. There was so much power. Nobody else was going for that big sail.
Now, all of the teams are carrying 7 sails, so it isn't the end of the world for them. But, and it's the windward foil that completely cuts through the 0. They are so sharp. They're so easy for it to happen, but that is an absolute disaster for Mappi. But they do have other sails on board. It's going to be a mission for them to deal with that now, get the sail out of the air and try and repair it over the course of the leg.
Oh, you can just see Ambrosia Beccaria. He is not happy. He knows that he was, well, I don't want to jump the jury on this one, but I think technically in the wrong. But I think they felt we were through. We were over the top. There's no way the Team Holcim PRB will come up from there.
I copy that, Alan.
Yeah, watch is going to come off fast.
Alan, take it on this wing.
I'm happy for it to blow. I'm happy for it to blow. Okay.
So guys, stay calm. Nico is having the phone.
Rosie, I come with you.
Head code 0, or at least one big masthead head sail set up and ready just as they touch the bow down. For Biotherm, I can see it, but it's tucked down onto the deck. So Johan Richomme and his crew are clearly thinking they're going to need that bigger head sail soon. Paul Mayer on Biotherm saying we've got time to get it up. So who's right on the weather here? Who's right on the next shift of the gears might make the difference as to who holds the lead.
And there is a big trade-off with that as well. So having it up in the air means you're ready to go. You can deploy it within seconds. You can save time on that sail change. But that is drag, aerodynamic drag. So Biotherm is currently minimizing their drag by having less sails up in the air, which would suggest that they can get that higher top speed, which, if they don't need to change a sail for a while, could translate to hundreds of meters over the next hour. But if the conditions do change, then you're much happier having a bit more drag and being able to sort it out a lot faster.
Quite an awful lot. If you thought you could skip the first 5 minutes of this race and you wouldn't be caught behind, you are sorely mistaken. This boat here, with only their mainsail up, well, this is what happened. This is the view on board. Thomas Riat on the left-hand side, and that big turn, you can see how close. Oh, and huge damage. I wondered whether there was damage. Emily, you were pointing at the screen at the time. We weren't too sure, but there is a huge hole in the side of Team Holcim PRB, and I'm not even sure whether Team Holcim PRB knew what happened early on. They were really pushing on. Now we're going to have to wait to see. Leg one is underway, but unfortunately it is not underway for everybody. Team Holcim PRB is right now seeing their hopes for a strong performance in the opening stages in this race of the damage and the drama going on in Kiel. Well, this is the replay of the incident, just the aftermath. Thomas Riat on the foredeck, dropping. That is a moment where, as a sailor, as a skipper, as a team leader, you really don't want the responsibility of trying to seem calm and controlled. I mean, it wasn't that long ago he was on the dock talking about how happy he was to actually make it to the start line after nearly damaging the boat beyond repair, and then to be involved in that incident. Well, you were right, Emily, about the sea state starting to build now as we get away from the shore, starting to open up a little bit, but still at a good angle right now for the race leaders. Patrick Arkea, the boat speed is high, above 20, maybe 25 knots, and look at that sustained flight. Yeah, it's quite a ride on one of these Imocas.
It really is, and it must be incredible for Johan to actually get to drive his boat with a full crew
on those foils. But this is the start of the longer game for the navigators. Should I be half a mile further up, half a mile further down, just to get the best shift in the breeze, the next change in the wind pattern? All of that going to be hampered, wrapped up, trying to keep the worst of the wind and the spray out of his ears, talking relentlessly on the comms unit into the ears of his sailors, keeping that boat right on the edge. Oh, and right there in the middle, Ada Grande Mappé and Team Holcim PRB getting incredibly close. And that was far too close. That is a disastrous way to start this race. You are now going to have to get that sail furled out of the way. It actually looks like it was the masthead code 0, and that is why they lost control. There was so much power. Nobody else was going for that big sail.
Now, all of the teams are carrying 7 sails, so it isn't the end of the world for them. But, and it's the windward foil that completely cuts through the 0. They are so sharp. It's so easy for it to happen. But that is an absolute disaster for Mappé.
The defender of the America's Cup, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, represented by Team New Zealand, and the challenger of record, the Royal Yacht Squadron Ltd, represented by Athena Racing, have signed the protocol for the Louis Vuitton 38th America's Cup set to take place in Naples in the summer of 2027. The protocol introduces a groundbreaking partnership that establishes equal authority between all participating teams.
The biggest single item is what we've announced today, and that is that the teams will ultimately be the custodians of the America's Cup going forward.
We just signed a protocol for America's Cup 38 between Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron and the Royal Yacht Squadron. It's a pretty seismic shift for the America's Cup in that we've created a partnership that will give continuity to the event for the first time in its history.
So that no one can be disadvantaged, everybody's on the same level, and the best team will ultimately still win. Ultimately, the vision is to increase the participation, control the cost, and bring the America's Cup more regular. Within that is the continuation of initiatives that have worked so well. The Youth and Women's America's Cup. The Women's America's Cup was a massive success.
285.
So we've now mandated that we'll have a female sailor on board the AC-75. You know, as we saw the huge success of the Women's America's Cup in Barcelona last year in particular, you know, the shift to more gender equity within sport and certainly within sailing in the America's Cup is a really brilliant step forward.
So as of today, the protocol's in force. What the protocol says is that 1 week today, teams can start to enter. So that'll start to roll out. There's been the call about who's entering. We're about to find out.
The penultimate day of Cowes Week 2025, Day 6, delivered great winds with some fruity gusts and choppy seas to challenge competitors as the competition for the top prizes heats up. With the wind set to build from the benign 10 knots or so that started the day, and forecast gusts in the high 20s, the Yankee flag was displayed on all start lines dictating that life jackets or buoyancy aids must be worn by all competitors.
Hi, I'm Steve Lovegrove and I sail on Leon, which is a J112E.
I'm Ben Vines, I sail on Yes, which is a JPK 1080.
My name is Rutger Krijger. In English I'm called Roger. The boat is Jack Rabbit, J112 GP. It's the racing version with fin keel and carbon mast.
Yeah, it's all really close. Leon and Jack Rabbit is sort of new to our little battle. And definitely a good addition. Leon is a similar boat to us, and yes, it's a different kind of boat, but it's pretty similar in speed as well. Almost like one design in the racing. Every leg there's a different leader in some of the races. Those guys have sort of brought their game forward, and we were really close yesterday. I think uncorrected we were all within 10 seconds. So the racing's amazing. We really are fighting for every second, and it's great fun.
Yeah, you can't make any mistakes or you get pretty badly punished. We've had a good start to the week. We managed to win the first 3 races. It's been super close.
We love Cowes really. We tend to do, 4 regattas a year, and Cowes is very much the pinnacle of that. It's just great fun, lots of boats around, lots of mates, generally really good sailing.
It's one of the iconic regattas of the south coast of the UK. It's still good energy, good fun, and a really good mix of racing amongst all of the classes, I'd say.
The atmosphere, the parties at the evening, and competition as well, that it makes it really good fun.
Hello, my name's James. I'm on the crew of the wonderful Mary Rose Tudor, which is a Contender 32. Racing's been brilliant. We had a sort of string of 3rd places, and finally today came away, managed to get the win. As a result, a couple of key guys coming back. You know, manoeuvres were spot on and everything just working well, for once working smoothly, and it was nice to get away with a win. Yeah, really awesome day, really great week so far. A lot of what we found, where we found that we were getting a bit of an edge, was just getting the team crew cohesion. We have a few inexperienced guys, first time sailing, and just people getting to know their roles better, cleanliness, sort of moving around the boat a little bit more nimbly today, and we all just knowing what we're doing at any given time. That has really helped us, just all being on the same page rather than any sort of big technical changes. I think we're doing some funny stuff with the backstay, but that's not really my department. So this is actually my first Cowes week, and it's been amazing. I mean, I slightly, anticipated a little bit more sailing than passing, so I think the weight was a bit off from what I expected, but yeah, it's great fun and just great. It seems like a great community, everyone getting around, bit of racing, bit of having fun, and it's been amazing. Definitely will be back many times, hopefully.
Watch some slow-motion wave windsurfing action filmed during the double elimination of the Playa Surf Tenerife El Medano Windsurf Grand Slam 2025. The event in Cabezzo, El Medano saw competitions in 3 pro fleets, Wave Women, Wave Men, and Slalom X Men, with a total of 92 pros competing. The largest fleet was the Wave Men with a maximum of 48 competitors, followed by the Wave Women with 24 riders. The 2025 Contender World Championship concluded at Fraglia Villa Malsacene, and the event was beautiful, frustrating, epic, voluminous, historic, and overflowing with talent, a once-in-a-generation competition. In the end, Mark Bulker from Australia proved that consistency wins regattas, with his worst finish being a 7th. He is not always the fastest in a straight line, but he is the best at race management in big fleets.
1 year ago we decided to come to Malcesine, Fraglia Villa Malcesine Lake Garda, because it's a professional sailing club, and Lake Garda also is usually a lake where you can find good conditions. The class is happy to be here and to host here another World Championship.
We only sail in special nice places like this, like Malcesine, so I made an effort to make sure to come to this race.
It's a fantastic fleet. It's, I think it's the second biggest Contender Worlds we've ever had. Biggest one a few years ago in Lake Como. So competition's been top notch, so yeah, it's been great.
It's quite a challenge in this big fleet. There's lots of boats around, get in your way.
We've had some very light winds, we've had some very windy winds, but I think on balance it's made it a really interesting event.
We always know the food is good, right? So that's the first thing we always like when we get here.
I love the lake. I love the Lake Garda. I love sailing here, and Malcesine is wonderful. That's my first World Championship I sail. There are so many boats on one start. I never had that. We are 7 female sailors, but when I began sailing the Contender, I was the only one. I know the feeling.
That was a lot of fun. That's why you sail a Contender. You go trapezing and playing upwind and playing downwind. That's what it's all about. That's what makes you come back next week for a bit more. So.
And it's fantastic to be back racing in Italy, and racing in Italy is one of the best places, of course, is here at Lake Garda, so we're happy to be here.
This epic mini globe race is the brainchild of Don McIntyre, the Australian promoter who has already set up the Golden Globe Race and the Ocean Globe Race, both round-the-world races that harked back to a simpler time when technology was less complex and intrusive. This video in onboard Christian Sauer's 580 Argo. Don rates this video as the best onboard so far. Would you build your own plywood boat and sail it around the world?
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.